Hi everyone, and welcome to this video. In this video, I will show you how Instant Subscenes works, actually hands-on inside the engine. When you import the tool into your project, you can instantly start off by making your maps. You might notice some messages like create a new map manager config. This basically means that the tool created information, serialized data, that is required in order to have your maps fully functioning. And you can find this data that's been created inside resources. Wait, no, my bad. I mean inside Instant Tools, Instant Subscenes, Resources, and here you go. You got your config folder where you have your map info, and then you have small preferences in a .ini format. We have our maps folder here as well. Here, all of our maps that we create will be stored. So what we can do now is go to our map manager by going to Instant Tools up above, Instant Subscenes, Map Manager. In this screen, inside our map manager, we can instantly start creating a new map. If we click on New Map, a new window will open. Over here, we can choose if we can create a map from a blank, as in from nothing, like create a map from scratch, or from template. I'll go into templates later in this video. If we click on blank, we can insert our map name. We're going to just call this perhaps level 1, continue. You can hit the enter key to go to continue as well instead of clicking the button. And now you will have this map configuration opened. Over here you can also see that the map has been added to the maps manager. We cannot load it yet because it says it as well when you hover over it. This button is disabled if the map contains no subscenes. So over here, we can straight off create some more subscenes. On the map configuration, then we click on create new, and we will have create new subscene. We're gonna just be calling this, I don't know, terrain. And we can create another subscene for lighting as well. And now that that is done, we can now load up our map. If we load the map up, here we go, terrain and lighting. And inside our scene view, we basically don't have anything noticeable. These are two scenes that have been additively loaded into Unity. So we have all of Unity's additive scene management features that belong to the hierarchy itself. So you can right click, set active scene, and now we're working in the lighting. If we right click, we set active scene, we're working in terrain. Why don't we add some elements to this scene then? We can go to 3D object. I'm gonna just do something real quick. Plane, and we're gonna set him to world origin right over there, and we're just gonna create a few spheres. Maybe duplicate one, make one a little bigger. You can't really see much because there is no lighting. So now that our terrain is done, we can also right click on lighting and set this as an active scene. We can do game object, lights, directional light, and there we go. So the possibilities here are very endless, as in you can already have a directional light in your scene, and then maybe you have your lighting artist working on his lighting scene, lighting subscene, on this map, while your level designer is actually moving things around inside his terrain scene. That's actually fairly cool, in my opinion. So now that this is done, you might say, okay, what if I want to add another subscene? Will I have problems? Well, absolutely no. You can create a new subscene, and we're going to be calling this, I don't know, we can call this cameras. It doesn't make much sense in a real world application, the structure I'm creating right now, but it's mostly for showing you the tool, how it works. As you can see here, cameras is now enabled, and it's also the active scene. So the last scene you created is the scene that's active. So be sure that you're modifying the right scene. You can always right click and set active scene to go back to where you were working. Okay, let's proceed and create another map. Let's create a map and call it level 2, or actually, we want to create it from a template. So let's save this structure as a template. I'm going to be calling this our example structure. Create. There we go. Template example structure created successfully. You see that in the console. We can now access it through Instant Tools, Instant Subscenes Template Manager. And over here, we have a list of all of our templates. We can even click on it. And here we have a list of all of our subscenes. We can even delete it from here or from here. We don't care about that right now. We can now create a new map from template. And here we go, example structure. We can click on this and then we give the map's name over here. We can call this level 2. So what will happen now is that we have the same exact structure of level 1. See over here where I have level 1 highlighted, I can click level 2 and we have the same subscenes, but they're empty. I'll demonstrate. If I load map over there, if I click load map, they're empty here now. There's nothing. So we can do something else here then. Inside our lighting, we can just set this as the active scene. Let's add some point lights. I'll just add one in world origin, probably a little high up. There we go. Duplicate them and move them around like this. And in our terrain, we can set him as an active scene. We can just create a few cubes because we already use spheres. Might make everyone invited to the party. Bring them up. And over here we can have 1, 2, 3. Cool. So now we have these two maps. We have this one over here that basically contains 2 spheres and a directional light. And we have this guy over here where we have a few point lights and a few of our cubes. Now we can also combine the two. We can load them additively. There's a little button over here that's a plus icon. I'm not sure you can really see that in the video. If you click it, we have 2 maps that are loaded at the same time. And there we go. We have our point lights, we have our cubes, we have our spheres, and we also have our directional light right over there. There he is. Naturally, you wouldn't use this tool for overlapping maps, but you would use this tool for having chunks of a world per se. And like while the player is moving, you can load more and more data asynchronously because all of the scenes that are loaded into the engine are loaded on separate threads. So you do get a great performance benefit out of this, and your subscene structure can be maybe less team oriented and more performance oriented. This is all up to you. You can experiment, and while prototyping you can see what works best, what makes the less amount of conflicts on your version control system. And okay, that's basically most of the features. We can unload a map now, and we have the exact, like the right map loaded into here. There's also other concerns that probably you have is, does this tool work with basic Unity scenes? The answer is yes. I have a default scene over here. If I double click it, default is there. And I go on the map manager, it says that I can load up the maps. He knows that I'm not using a map. I'm not using any information that belongs to these maps. So what I can do here is perhaps have a main menu scene where I click play and a loading screen that basically calls the load function for our map. But how does this loading work? How can I load through script? How can I access this tool's features by code? Well, this is possible because of a very handy tool, a very handy script that I created. And this script is called Map Manager. So over here you have load map, which returns a map async operation, and an unload map. So when we call this load map, that belongs to Map Manager, which is part of the instanttools.subscenes namespace, we can actually access all of the asynchronous loading properties and set them to all of the subscenes. So we can preload our information. We can get how much overall progress throughout all, like it's the average of all subscenes, how much is actually loaded of that. Like this, we can even have a progress bar in our loading screens. And here I have a little example script for, so over here we have instant tools.subscenes, and here we have map manager.loadMap level 1. I'm gonna make this explicit, just like this, use explicit type. There we go. So we can, we are returning a map async operation, A. Well, right now it's not used. And using it is also optional, but we can use it if we want. We can do something like a dot allow scene activation is equal to false, right? And in any moment, we can allow the scene activation to occur. So we just set this to true, and all of the subscenes will load in an instant because they're already loaded into memory. So you're just basically activating them. We can also load them additively. We can load up our subscenes additively. And we can do this, load scene mode.additive or load scene mode.single. So if we're loading additively, we need to add this little enum over here. This is part of Unity Engine.scene management. So this enum belongs to Unity Engine's default structures that are like if you have something like scene manager dot load scene, the load scene async returns an async operation, just to say how map async operation is this but dedicated to maps. We can do load scene, and we can put like a scene name level 1. It doesn't make much sense right now because we don't have a scene. And here we go, load scene mode.additive. This is part of Unity Engine.scene management namespace, as you can see over here. There's also a few features that are extremely important because typically in Unity, when you add your scenes to the build, you would have to go to your file, build settings, and here are your build settings. Then what you can do is, this is some junk from previous testing while during development. Okay, so here you have your scenes. Maybe you don't even want default, like you have an empty scene. You would have to click and drag your scenes over there, or you can click add open scenes, which is somewhat of a pain. What we can do instead is right click our maps and click add to build, and bam, all of our subscenes have been added to the build just like that. We can do this over here as well. It works flawlessly. And when we build our game, we have all of our subscenes included over there. But what if we have some subscenes, perhaps level 2 has a subscene where, I don't know, like you have a camera where you can spy on enemies just because you need to see how they behave to certain reactions or something like that. You know, developer only tools or editor only information that you need for playing. You can exclude these from the build. Like this, you can make the build clean from all of the developer stuff, all this junk that everyone leaves because obviously we need to test. So click on exclude from builds, and there, cameras disappeared from level 2. If I untick this, it's back. So that's how easy it is to actually exclude a scene from a build. And it works both in the engine and in the game's build, as in when you load a scene, you don't have this scene in the build. I know I've repeated that myself quite a bit over there, but I think the word build is now in your head a lot. I am sorry for that. And that being said, I think I've covered almost all of the features of Map Manager and Instant Subscenes. To remove a map from a build, what you can do is, well, we'll go back to build settings. If you hover over here, there's a little X button over here that you can click, or you can right click and hit remove from build. And doing so, these subscenes get deleted from the build. Not deleted, as in removed from your build settings, because your subscenes are still over here. And when you delete a map, you can, like all the subscenes will get deleted with it. I can also show you one last thing here. In the structure of our maps, so remember instant tools, we have the instant tools folder, instant subscenes, resources, maps. Here we have level 1 and level 2. All of the information is saved in JSON. So This means that all the information is easily readable. I tried my best to make it as simple as possible, because perhaps someone deleted the subscene cameras and added 2 more subscenes, and you didn't want that to happen, and a merge conflict can occur. So you can easily go in there and read the information. As you can see, there's like subscenes. There's a nice array over here of strings. That's all they are. You have terrain, lighting, cameras, and you even have a reference to the map path and the map name. Same applies to level 2, and if we open level 1, every subscene has his scene. This is an actual Unity scene, and another JSON file that is the configuration. So if we go to level 1, right, let's load him up, and we go to settings, terrain for example, or actually camera, because we're looking at him. What we see over here is the data that gets saved in this JSON file. There's also another information that you can read over here, which is visible. And there's also this little icon over here. So this is the last feature that the tool has. If I were to hide lighting, right now the lights are no longer selectable. Like, they're not set to visible over here. But this is due to how Unity works by default, because what I can do is hide the terrain. And all of the meshes are not visible anymore, because, you know, there's a little icon over here that says that they're hidden, and you can show it again. This is very useful also if you want to focus exclusively on what's important, or like, I don't know, you're making enemies AI and you don't care about your tech artist's extremely cool VFX made with VFX graph and stuff like that. You just want what you need, or perhaps your level is full of information and the amount of gizmos is making you lag. You can just cut out a scene, because hiding even lights hides the gizmos of it, even if the lights are still visible. That boosts up your editor performance. I think this wraps it all up. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions or any doubts, or you want to see the documentation, you want to have a chat with me, I'll gladly help you out on Discord. You will see the invite link in the description of this video. So thanks for watching. Please leave a like and subscribe. See you next time.